One of the best ways to ensure security is to put it in from the ground up. To find out more about network architecting, stay tuned.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to GSEC. And we're talking about defensible network architecture. I was scared I was not going to be able to say that.
Because that's a lot of words.
That is a lot of words. But really what we're doing is we're a tower defense game, right? That's what we're doing. We're setting up our points and our little, ballistas and all that fun stuff for our network.
You think of it like, what's that? It's like SimCity, or what's the new one everybody loves?
Age of Empire? Whatever.
You build an empire for yourself. That's what we're doing, except we're going to do that with our network. But when we do it, we want to say, you know what? Instead of coming back around after we get the network running and bolting security on or trying to figure out where we can add it, let's just go with security in mind. And as we move, we'll make sure that, like you said, kind of gets baked into the pie crust there as we're done. And then when we're done, we should have a much more secure product than that.
And one of the things that I always think of when I'm like, all right, I need to make this just so. I need to make this right. I need to make this defensible, whether it be playing a game or in this case, building a network, is I need to have a secure design. I can't just haphazardly put these things together and go, there it is. So can we talk about design for a moment?
Yeah, design is a big, important part of this because it's fine to have all the components in your mind that you think would be great for your network. But if you don't map it out and really go that next step to create a network that has security in mind, has all those wonderful security controls and features that you want to add to it to make it secure, it's going to be difficult to make that all happen. So you got to verify that all things work together and use some best practices to help ensure that the network that you do design comes out in a secure manner. So let's start talking about what we need to do to make that happen. First thing we need to do, identify our assets, right? What are going to be the components of this network? And this takes up many forms and functions. This will be things like routers and switches, even the hosts themselves. And this comes down to anything that's connected to the network. That could be a printer, that could be workstations, mobile devices, whatever is going to connect to this network that you're trying to build. You want to make sure that you have that in one solid source that you know for two reasons. A, you've designed for it, right? Okay, well, I've got workstations, I got this, I got that, I'm good to go. But B, you shouldn't ever find any surprises, right? It shouldn't be like, what's this doing on my network? What is this device? And we go, oh, well, that's something we put in 3 months ago. Why is it not documented? Why is this like an afterthought? Any kind of time you have an afterthought, it needs to be a vetted process and go through, because that is going to give you the security that you're looking for, right? So you have to identify all your assets. Next will be oh, Justin, I know you love this one, a risk assessment. Yeah. A risk assessment. It always pops back up when you least expect it, doesn't it?
Out of left field, really.
Yeah.
I was thinking low and outside, boom, high and tight. Almost caught me. Good thing I was paying attention.
Right. So risk assessment, if you look at our risk management and a bunch of other different episodes that talk about risk assessment and management, here it is again. It's important for us to understand what the underlying risks to the devices we're deploying and the architecture we're using is going to be, and then work from there. So a couple of things we need to probably be aware of to help with that. A, do vulnerability scanning. Do some sort of vulnerability assessment as part of your risk assessment. It's always a really good idea because that's going to give you a better overall look into the security landscape, if you will, of your system as a whole and as individual pieces. So you can find those spots that might be the key to unraveling your security. It might be that weakest link. And now you can maybe implement a control or do some mitigation, something, maybe even just not use that device at all and look for another product or another solution for that. But if you don't do that risk assessment, that is a really crucial key component to designing a secure network. All right, that will lead us now to physical security. Super important. Here's the thing. I know it's really convenient to put a router or maybe a switch for a floor just inside of a closet or on somebody's desk. It's going to make a lot of noise, but who cares, right? It's easy to get to. That is the problem, though. it's easy to get to. It should not be easy to get to by anyone but the people that are supposed to be able to get to it. So let's put a fence around it. Let's stick it in a room somewhere. Let's put an RFID badge, pin pad, biometrics, something. Turnkey lock, I'll take that. Something other than nothing. Only authorized personnel should be able to have physical access to these devices because they are sensitive, right? So never forget or leave out physical security when it comes to a secure design, right? Let's see. Network segmentation will be another really good idea. Kind of like what we've done with physical world, right? We've segmented or we've segregated off those components because most everyday traffic does not need access to it. Same thing goes with our data, our packets across the wire. If Justin's in finance, right, and he is all up in that finance business, probably doesn't need to have access to IT data or HR or whatever. Now, paths may cross from time to time, but by and large, that data needs to stay separate from this data and that data. And only when necessary should they mix. So to segregate these things out, this helps with any kind of mitigation for fallout. If finance accidentally downloads some malware, well, it's going to be stopped by network segmentation from propagating to the rest of the company. It's going to be isolated in finance. And hopefully if we are quick enough to realize that something has happened, malware's been installed, a breach has occurred, take your pick, we'll even mitigate from there. But if I can stop it at that network boundary, it makes my life a whole lot easier. Don't forget the DMZ. Make sure you use a DMZ. They're still relevant and useful, where a lot of times most corporations, organizations, governments, whatever, they have a way for the general public at large to access their system, but they don't want them to have direct access to sensitive stuff. So you typically have some firewalling and some servers that sit in the middle of that, typically a web server, because that's most people's interaction with an organization is through their website or their web app. Once they hit that application, if they need something from a database, if they need something from anything internally, the web server will request it on their behalf, and only then if they're authorized for it, right? So we have that intermediary. And if you've got IDSs and IPSs and firewalls doing ACLing and all that proper design, well, then it should do a really good job of keeping out bad information or bad requests from the outside world from a possible threat actor. So DMZ is a good idea. Port security is another one I threw on there, which is super helpful. It's going to go along with some of the other stuff that we talk about here in just a minute. But with port security, you're just saying, this is the device that plugs into this port. If it's not this device, it doesn't get any access. The port gets shut off, no mas, and there you go. It's typically a very simple thing to enable. So if you got a couple of router switch jockeys in your corporation, they should be able to help you out with that. Or just get on the phone with your vendor and say, I need to be able to do this. They will help you out, and we'll get that squared away. Moving on to, oh yeah, don't forget wireless. Remember, wireless is access to your network. So make sure you do your proper heat mapping. You want to set those access points to where all the radius of connectivity is within the boundaries and the confines of your actual your physical organization, and not out in the parking lot or across the street at Bento's or wherever, lunch. Hey, it's super convenient that I get to go eat lunch across the street and still get Wi-Fi from our building. No. That's what we don't do. So just keep that in mind. Use strong encryption as strong as possible, and use a strong PSK always as strong as possible. Don't want to get hit with a weak PSK, a pre-shared key, or basically a password or passphrase, and that be the weak link into your network because somebody had a dictionary file and was able to crack that joker. It's just an easy lift to make a strong password, and that's what gets applied to your Wi-Fi. Typically, you're not re-entering that stuff on a constant basis, so it's what they say, buy once, cry once. It's the same kind of idea. You're going to cry one time and getting connected, and once you're connected, you're done. So there you go.
Speaking of crying, if you utilize...
That's what you've been doing this whole episode.
No, if you utilized all of these secure design practices, right?
Yeah.
I think the worst possible feeling is, somebody got in and I didn't know they were here for,
Mm.
X amount of months. So I guess that's where we now have to talk about network monitoring, right?
Yeah, network monitoring will be the next piece of the puzzle when it comes to a secure network. You got to make sure that you're actually paying attention to these things. I can't tell you how many times I've sat there and looked at different types of compromises and breaches, and you go, man, if someone had a monitor in place for this, would never would have happened, or at least they would have known about it a whole lot sooner, and you could have reacted. So if you want to implement some monitoring, there's some great tools out there for you, and not just for security. These would be things like SIEMs, I can never get security event, SIEM or SEIM. I can never remember what it is. It's probably on the page. Let's go to my computer. Oh, Justin's got it for me.
Security, information, and event management.
Information event management. I always want to do it backwards for some reason.
Yeah, I guess
Security event and information. I always want to do that.
I mean,
But
ultimately, that and allows you to commute.
Kind of,
those.
yeah.
So
yeah.
if you did, I mean, I'd only judge you a little bit.
Yeah. Not harshly. I'm going to cry now. Anyway, thank you, sir, for keeping me straightforward. But I do have a few tools that could help us out with this, right? This is SolarWinds. Okay, so SolarWinds is a pay-for product. It's not a cheap product, but it is probably the gold standard for network monitoring. Does all sorts of stuff as well. Let's see here. Network management, systems management, IT security, database management, IT help. Okay. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of functionality in SolarWinds, which is why it's so expensive, but it does a really good job. So we've got availability and performance. Is that router still running, or is it down? Has it been rebooted? Did we schedule that reboot? Why did that router reboot? That's not good. We need to look into that. So these are the kind of things that we can look into if we are monitoring properly. So let's see, your server and application monitor. This thing does a lot. Database performance analyzer, virtualization. This one's a good one. Network bandwidth and analyzer pack that shows you your top talkers, how much bandwidth is actually going through. Have we seen a spike? It can take baselines. It does everything you can think of. Network configuration manager, super important to design the configurations as well as the physical devices themselves to be secure. Implement security where you can. Things like that port security. That would go in that network configuration, right? And then, of course, the security event manager. A lot of great stuff. SolarWinds is amazing. Another one, Nagios, great product as well. Very similar to SolarWinds in function and capability. You probably get, it's almost like a religious war. You get one side versus the other. Somebody likes SolarWinds, somebody likes Nagios. But as you can see, you get a lot of the same functions. We'll see server monitoring, application monitoring. Let's see here. This is open source, which is nice. And you can try, I believe they have a pay-for product, but here's another one, Zabbix, right? Here we go, network monitoring, server monitoring. And another one I found was Insinga, which apparently has gone through a new iteration or version and is a really nice. I saw some dashboards for it, look great. Seemed pretty straightforward to get set up. So you can't say you don't know about network monitoring now. It is something that we want to engage in. We need to be watching our networks, looking for anomalous activity and investigating that to see if any malfeasance is occurring due to that activity.
All right, so Daniel, we got some monitoring in place, which is important. As in my background, we always said monitoring. That sounds hard. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
But there are other ways, we have some of these security design principles, but there's other ways that we can try to keep people out, right? Like network access control, some of those mechanisms. Is that kind of baked into the secure design, or should we dive a little deeper into that?
So a network access control is it's really effective in what it does. There are ways around it, and they're usually very clever ways, and I can speak to that, or I can speak to how they work. You notice I also had 802.1x. That is the specification for network access control. So if you see 802.1x or NAC, they're talking about the same kind of thing, right? What this does, let's start there. What this does is allows you to create policies around network access, okay? So if Justin wants to bring his laptop into work and use his personal laptop, something that we had no control over, and he wants to connect it to our network, he can bring it to IT, and IT can look it over, maybe scan it for viruses and do all sorts of fun stuff, and then go, yeah, this looks clean, but we still don't really have control over it. And we would, anytime we made a change, we'd have to check that. NAC can help out with that. It can just install a little agent. The agent will do some looking at the device and go, okay, you're missing some updates. You got no antivirus, and you seem more dangerous than we'd like. You know, you're a bit of a risk. You know, think of them as like a loan officer, right? Let's see, are we going to give you this micro loan? I don't know. You're kind of risky. You haven't really had a great financial history. That's the kind of idea, right? So a network access controller will do that. It'll take that health check and then report back to the server, and the server will then either accept or deny it based off of the criteria that it's been given. Really cool stuff. Windows has this. I think it's like NPS and NAP. I think Network Access Protection Network. What was that? I forget. It's the new one. It's
Network Policy and Access Services?
Yes, Network Policy and Access Services. Thank you so much. That's the latest iteration of that. Not as up to speed as I was with NAP. I haven't been working in a Windows shop as much as I used to, right? But they allow you to create like health checks and policies based on where you're connecting from or the health of the device, or using a VPN, that kind of thing. Will allow that. A couple of other things that will help you with this. OpenNAC is another. I think that's open source, as well as Packet Fence. And I will not pull your leg. I will not beat around the bush. It's a lot of work. It's not easy to get it set up. That being said, you get it set up and working, it works really well. Now, again, there's always the way around, just to throw this out there, the way around something like this is usually through exceptions, right? I've got a printer. Can I update the printer? No, but it's a network device and it needs access. I can't install antivirus on it. I can't do updates. I can't do this, that, and the other, but I still need my printer. So we'll just make an exception in the NAC system to allow that printer. I just go over there and look at the menu and say, what's your MAC address? Cool. Now I spoof the MAC address, plug my device in. It thinks I'm a printer and gives me access. So there's clever ways to get around network access control, but it's still a really good system for maintaining network security. So I highly recommend looking into at least getting some familiarity with how it works and some of the inner workings with it. Like I said, it can be a super complex system. I don't think you need to be able to set it up for the exam or anything, but you do need to be aware of those types of systems.
Now, Daniel, I've actually been to a couple of locations that have something like this implemented. You have to accept the policy if you join their network, even if you're just going out to the internet at large.
Right.
And I can tell you, that little antivirus pop-up, it happened every day. It's like, you need to update. I was like, I just did. I don't know what you want from me.
I want more updates. That's what I want, Justin.
But it seems annoying, but it could save a lot of heartache.
You know what's more annoying? A data breach.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Malware.
Bad stuff. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, and thank you for joining us. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here, prepping more GSEC coming your way. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I've been your host, Justin Dennison.
I'm Daniel Lowry.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.